Hello, everyone. Welcome to RA Spring Training 2020-2021.
That's a lot of 20s, Liz. We miss you and we're so sad we can't be with you in person right now.
This is going to be a long training video, so make sure you grab your Croix and your avocado toasts deconstructed for this fun adventure.
This training is meant to set you up for Imprint and using your binder, so stay tuned.
Also, I'm alone in this room right now, which means I do crazy people stuff like this. Maybe you're alone too, but don't worry. You can always reach out to your RD or even send us a selfie.
It is our hope that our RAs would always be prepared for
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Cute, cheesy smile, everyone.
Santa heard that you were all very good this year, so he came early and he gave you a fantastic notebook of all the things that you will need to know as an RA, chapter by chapter by chapter. But one of the things that we like to do is give this to you ahead of time so that you can begin reading this over the summer, because it's going to give you information that you're going to need about how to do your work as an RA. Things that I think are important to note: live, love, learn. I'm a mission-centric kind of leader, so I encourage you to also look in the back where you can begin to memorize it. Other things that can be helpful for you, if you open it up, on the back, you can kind of miss it, but I wrote you a letter of love. You're welcome. Secondly, other information, as you can kind of see, you'll have general information that provides you important dates. You've got training, you've got community, but the one that I want to point out to you is in the very, very back. It's called articles. Back there are 3 articles that we're going to require you to read for this summer. And when we give you a document called the Digging Deeper, it'll actually want to provide reflection prompts in reading these 3 articles. So the 3 we're going to have you read is The Giraffe and the Elephant. And we want you to read them in this order: The Giraffe and the Elephant. The second is White Fragility. And then the third is going to be Life Together. All right, and so it's, for us, kind of serving as a primer when we talk about living out our mission statement of cultivating a diverse and transformative community. We think that these articles can provide a good primer for where we'll go in our training when we head and meet together again in August. Okay, just wanted to point that out to you. So that's it. So with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to our assistant director, Dan Taylor, who will talk more about our training session.
It's my birthday. So we have the idea of this time, the next about hour, is a section we've titled Foundations of Residence Life. So there are going to be 4 stations that you're going to be in a group, and you're going to rotate to each of the stations, about 15 minutes per station. And there's going to be one talking about mission and vision of residence life with the amazing Shannon Ballroom. There's going to be a conversation led by our returning RAs. So people who have done this for a year, who you just get to talk a little bit about, like, what is this process like? What is it like to transition into this role? Then there will be a conversation about spiritual formation with me out on the patio there, and then a conversation about diversity and navigating hard conversations with Rachel and Thomas. The first part, talking about foundations of residence life. The second part, talking specifically about Imprint and that experience as a team. So that's what we have ahead of us today. The idea is that it's interactive. It's a chance for you to ask questions, to be in conversation. This is not just a time to, we want you to listen, but we want you to be participant in this time as well. Does everyone remember names? We want to make sure that you're remembering who everyone is. Can you just say your name real quick? Just
Carter Caldwell,
Sam Allensworth, Abby Cash, Keelan McDonough,
Riley Johnson, Ethan Elisara,
Phoebe Shea, Rachel Pace.
Okay. And I'm Dan. And the point of this conversation here is to talk a little bit about, so one of the foundations of residence life being our spiritual formation and the fact that we are stepping into leadership roles that have a spiritual component to it, in the sense that both because of the ethos of Westmont, that we are here in that place of the intersection between learning and between growing spiritually, but also in residence life we have a really unique opportunity to help set a tone for what does Christian community actually look like, and kind of getting beyond the buzzword part of it, that it's not, that Christian community is not just something that, a word that we should be just kind of sick and tired of by the time we graduate, but is actually a lived reality, and that it's something that has real depth and meaning. And so we're not going to get into the training of like how to do that today. Today we're just going to do a little exercise kind of related to our own growth in spiritual formation. And so, and a chance to talk about it. I'm going to give you a little assignment then. Just, you have 3 minutes, take your phone and go take a picture of something in this area that just is cool. Something that catches your eye, something you think is like, oh, this is a cool picture. So 3 minutes, go. little peach.
Done.
I'm gonna take a picture of the egg. It's symbolic.
Us page staffers like to team up and support each other. Good job, Riley.
What'd you take a photo of?
I took a photo of an orange blossom.
Oh, pretty. How was that?
Good, I think.
I hope. I don't know.
Which angle do you?
All angles.
Ridiculous.
You look good. Did you find something cool?
Oh, heck yeah.
What about you?
I found something so cool.
Life-changing?
Life-changing.
All right, turn to someone next to you and show the picture you took, and tell them why you took that.
Here's the picture that I took.
Here's the picture that I took.
Now, why would you take a picture of that?
I think constellations are super good. Like the tree. I love anything like constellation, like patterned or so. And then I also took a picture of you.
Nice. You want to know why I took the picture?
I would love to know why you took the picture.
Sam, I took the picture because I have class there every morning, and every morning I walk to class, I smell this flower. And I like it a lot, so I think it's beautiful, and so that's why I took the picture.
Let's see your photos.
It's some flowers.
I think it is a really interesting exercise to be on a mission to go find a picture. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what did you notice about how you dispersed when your mission was to find something cool to take a picture of? What was that like compared to when you just left your last class?
I think it was a little bit more intentional, like you were seeking something out.
Okay.
So like a little like rushed. And so it was like I wasn't paying attention to like necessarily everything that I would have wanted to take a photo of. I was just looking for like something specific, like eye-catching.
Okay.
It's like focused on like beauty, like what a beautiful picture.
Yeah. And was that different than like say what you were thinking about when you left your last class?
I was just thinking about how like we had a quiz and I was really excited. I had to go fill out the medical forms. I wasn't thinking about beauty at all.
Yeah. Anything else? What are differences between your kind of motivation or mentality just now versus earlier today?
It was exciting.
Okay, in what sense?
Well, I don't know. I knew what I wanted to go take a picture of because it's been bugging me because I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But I think just kind of the contrast between the day was, I think today the excitement came from being out of class and being in it. So, yeah.
I think there's some parallels between when we think about intentionality and how we're walking through the world, how we're existing in the world, with that exercise that we just did. To be given the prompt of looking for a picture, you're looking at the world around you with a sense of expectation or a sense of purpose, or you're waiting for something. So I love photography, and when I take my camera to go just like shoot pictures somewhere, there's just a complete difference in how I'm seeing and interacting with that environment, because things that I would just normally walk by suddenly are interesting. Like the whether it's a plant or something that's like made by humans, that like the angle or the light or something is just like catches my attention in a different way because I'm looking for it. And I think when we think about spiritual formation as RAs and in leadership in general, I think it's really easy to go to be on that autopilot, and there's not anything wrong with it. Like, say how we typically all walk out of class, or when I'm leaving Kerwood to head home for the day. I can't tell you what plants are along the sidewalk that I walked on the way to my car, because I'm just like, I'm on my way, like I'm just going. But to be people who are taking time to notice what is in our environment is really important, not just in terms of like plants and trees and skies and things that bring joy, but also noticing people, and especially noticing where God is providing in those moments. I think it's really easy for us to have these big moments of like, yes, like I have this one time in my life when I remember like God like was like so amazing in his provision. And yet like every day there's provision, there's things to be thankful for, there's things to notice and worship God for, but we just walk by them and we don't really notice them. And so I would say that part of the discipline of growing spiritually in leadership has to do with that intentionality of looking, of like, where am I going to see God provide today? Where am I going to see the gift of words in a conversation? Where am I going to see somebody who may need encouragement? Where am I going to get encouragement for myself? So that like internal motivation of intentionality, I think, is really important. We're going to use the last little bit of our time just to take a couple minutes to spread out, and we need to sit and just simply pay attention to your breathing. So all you're going to do is just try to sit calmly. You're going to have distracting thoughts come. That's fine. Don't be mad at yourself for that, but just kind of go back to focusing on your breathing. Maybe pay attention to some of the sensations of like the breeze or maybe the sounds that you're hearing. And we're just going to do that calmly, in that same idea of like sitting quietly with a sense of expectation. So, and that will be kind of where we wrap up. And this exercise pointing us towards what does it look like to slow down and pay attention to what is going on inside of us and what God may be saying. So just find a spot. Just don't go too far because we don't have a ton of time. We'll just sit somewhere, and we'll give you a 1 minute warning before coming back.
2 hours later.
I felt kind of just relaxed. I think I was super anxious to just like kind of be in my own head because it's been like a stressful week. So just like having that time to like sit and listen to the one voice that I didn't really want to hear all week was kind of intimidating, but it was like nice to kind of just be like, it's Friday, you're done, like what happened, and it'll be okay. That was really nice.
I really wanted to like just do something active. Spend 40 days of no caffeine, and there's caffeine today, and I just feel like let's do something. So it was actually tough to like slow down.
I felt at peace.
Yeah, I think it's like more peaceful.
All right, well, thank you all for jumping into this. You can go on to the next station.
So this is our station regarding diversity and navigating conversations related to that. And so I'm going to refer to a couple of the articles to help you guys understand there's like purpose in the different stations that we're going through. And so you guys came from spiritual formation. This was the diversity, and then also we're wanting to, and then the giraffe and elephant article, that was talking about community. And so live, love, learn are the like mantras for residence life, but we're also thinking about who do we want to be about in terms of like the blood that's pumping through residence life. And so it's how are we building community, how are we growing and learning in our racial consciousness and becoming more culturally competent. So that's what we're talking about when we use the word like diverse, as well as thinking about socioeconomically, sexuality, how are we creating these inclusive environments. But then also we want to be about students and our own spiritual formation. This is our article specifically regarding community, but then also put in a lens of like thinking about it racially, like what would be the impacts of some of the things that you read in this article. And then the next one is white fragility.
Which I think it can feel like wait, are you saying like me as a white person I'm fragile, or what does this mean? But I think it's helpful to have context of even naming like what are the emotions or what are the things that are like rising up in people sometimes if you identify as a white person, or if you don't, like some of the things that you may see in having the conversation, because you can be honest that sometimes they're not the easiest ones to have. I think there's a lot of emotion that can be involved, and so I encourage you to read this article kind of just like open-mindedly, and it's okay if you react like, no, I don't do that, or you may be like, shoot, did someone just like read my diary? Like that's like what I am thinking as well with that. And then spiritual formation, I mean, that's like wrapping up, that's part of who we are and what we're doing here at Westmont. So going back specifically to diversity, I think it's important that we do say explicitly that it is related to race, but it also includes other social identities. And I think, you know, like I mentioned, socioeconomically, I think especially here at Westmont, that's a really salient one and pertinent one here. So in terms of conversations regarding race, I think also we're coming off of like some significant conversations and things that have happened on our campus with this semester, but what has been helpful for you, whether engaging conversations, whether that's been more one-on-one or if it's been like classroom style or like going to like intercultural programs, what have been things that have been helpful for you that you feel like could be helpful for your fellow teammates?
I think I like how, especially this semester, at least maybe I'm more aware of it this semester, there's been a lot more like events that are focused on having a conversation about it, which like makes it nice for everyone to like come to a place where we can all like have the intentions of learning about something and growing in something together, and then like hearing someone that has more information and more understanding on it, and then like creating your own opinions and beliefs and understanding what you can do to be a part of that and contribute to it is very helpful.
I think being friends with people of color and having them have conversations with you about like what's okay, what's not okay, and just being like more informed, like has made me think about different things, like, and how I'm trying to like not to be like calling anyone out, but like just like think about how I can go about a situation and how I can be like respectful of like everyone, and it has made me think of things that I didn't think about before. And so my one friend has really helped me like be more like knowledgeable and I think respectful of others.
I think just being open to listen has been something I've learned. I've had a few people just sit down, and I didn't even say anything. I just kind of sat there and listened. And I think kind of the result of it was just like my heart was softened. And you know, I don't think I have any solutions, but I think I do. Like I'm aware. I think that's just a good place to start.
I think a space where like people can feel comfortable asking questions is like so important, because there are things that we don't know and that like I definitely have questions about and are like uncomfortable with, but being able to feel comfortable talking about that.
I had a conversation with one of my friends, and I think we were just like going on a rant about like something really stupid, and then he like bursts out in an angry rage, and he's like, is it really that difficult for people to treat people like people and like for what they are? And like he was going on a rage about like something really dumb, but that kind of like stuck with me, because it's like you'd think that it wouldn't be that hard to be like go to a random person and just like have a conversation about whatever needs to be said and stuff, but everyone gets so like defensive. I think it's just their natural reaction. So I just thought it was like, I think that's been a learning curve for me. It's just like we're just all people, like regardless of like our socioeconomic status or like our race or what we identify as, like we are what we are. And it's like, I guess just be open to listen and have conversation and ask questions, just so that you are more aware about like your surroundings and stuff.
I'd say like knowing where people are coming from and like what they've grown up with when you're like engaging in conversation, because sometimes people haven't been exposed to like some things that if you haven't, you want to think a certain way. And so just being aware of that and the way that they think and being respectful of that.
Can it be helpful to know like, oh, okay, I'm understanding why it is that you think the way you do. And I do think there can be things that are right and wrong. I mean, there is this like being respectful, but I think that's the joy of what we do here and being among each other and like shoulder to shoulders that we're sharpening each other too. So yeah. Any other things that have been helpful, or even as you think about like leading a section, something that you've experienced that you're like, oh, like I really want to try this out?
For me, like my section right now, we always joke about it because like especially the first semester, it was like mostly minorities and then me and one other girl who are white. So it was like kind of funny because we're like, oh, the Westmont stereotype is like mostly white and there are a couple minorities, and it was like so flip-flopped in our like specific section, which I think honestly was such a God thing, because I think that it really like opened my eyes to so many things that I wouldn't have seen before. And just having like those conversations till like 3 a.m. where it's like I'm like able to ask questions, like someone was saying that too, like just being able to ask questions and like be able to be like, yeah, I don't know like how I feel on this, like why do you feel the way that you do about that, is like so helpful. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen on all sides that's like really helped those conversations to be like fruitful is like not having judgment. Like people in those conversations have said things that I don't agree with. I'm sure I've said things that they don't agree with, but at the end of the day, we like love each other so much that we're like, okay, I get why you feel that way, and like we are coming to a middle ground, and like I'm not gonna judge you or get defensive based off what you say. Like I'm just gonna like try to like help you understand where I'm coming from. And like I think there is right or wrong and in a lot of senses with things, and just being able to say like where does my line fall on that, but being able to ask things that might be wrong, and not having judgment for that either, because we're like such good friends. So I think it's like building that for like a section, it's like building that like friendship and love and like trust first, and then diving into those like hard conversations. They're gonna be like taken a lot better.
Educating ourselves, like I need to continue to be educated. Just because I have my face does not mean I'm done, like I'm off the hook of learning. I'm like, for the rest of my life I'm gonna continue to be growing. So I think a commitment that we all are educating ourselves and not just depending on the people of color to be the only ones educating ourselves. So it's a both and, but it's not just the people of color to educate white people, because white people also have very insightful and important things to say too. I think when we talk about privilege, and it could be in a variety of like identities, something that I want to encourage you is to think about stewardship of privilege and where you may be called to sacrifice. And what I mean by that is, if you do identify as white, there are certain privileges that you have as a white person, or if you're a white passing person. And I think there's a lot more negative connotation. And I mean, no one here was alive even 50 years ago, so you weren't the ones who came up with our like policies or institutions. So what I mean is like to stewarding your privileges, like leveraging whatever privilege you have, like utilize it for the benefit and blessing for other people. And so privilege then becomes something that I think you don't have to feel guilty about per se, but you can actually use to bless other people. And then along with stewardship though, there's sacrifice, and that may mean in the places that we have privilege, we may actually be called to sacrifice. And that's something as a person of color, I realized, oh, yes, I'm a person of color, I'm also a woman of color. So I'm like, that's a double whammy, like, but that doesn't get me off the hook of I need to examine where do I have privilege. I'm able-bodied, I have an education, not just undergrad, but I have my master's, being heterosexual. And so where are there places that I also need to kind of be mindful of? I think thinking about, we have resources here, I mean, among, like, look around at each other, like, these are resources, your RDs are resources. And we also have different workshops or things going on campus, intercultural programs. I mean, I'd encourage you to, even if you have gone to something with intercultural programs, like next year, commit to like, I'm gonna go to one thing, whatever it is, or the next step. We have SCORE, which is Student Congress on Racial Reconciliation, which is at Biola. And that's really neat because you get to interact with other student leaders and like sometimes other RAs, and having like these kinds of conversations. So thinking about even like, how do I have a section gathering of like bringing people to different workshops or things going on, or telling your secretary, hey, I'm gonna go to Next Step for Martin Luther King Jr. if you guys wanna come with me. Maybe a place to do it in that way. And I think I will leave you with, because I think sometimes we just want to, okay, do the right things, what I shouldn't do, like the do's and the don'ts. but really it's endless. And I think what matters more is like where our hearts are at. And so asking yourself the question of why. I mean, we as like Residence Life, your supervisors, we're saying, hey, this is something that is important. We want to create diverse and transformative communities, but you need to have ownership of your why. Like, why is it that maybe you don't care right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like so burnt out with like diversity talk. Like, wrestle with that and ask yourself, like, why is that? But my hope is that you can come to a place of asking yourself, like, why is it that I'm actually going to care about diversity and inclusion when you think about the care of your residents? I like to argue that it's about your discipleship, about your sanctification as a follower of Christ, and that as we actually are being more mindful of those who are marginalized, even racially, it's creating this lens for us for a different context as well, related to gender, related to people in this section. Maybe it's just like someone's like really awkward, and like how you bring them into. So leave you with that to wrestle on a Friday afternoon of the why to engage in these conversations. Alrighty. Yeah.
How's it been so far?
Good.
How's it been?
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
Hi everyone. We miss you and we're excited to see you. Woo!
Present!
Yeah.
This part is about mission, vision. And so the first question that I want to ask you a little bit is when you're looking at the mission statement, so you can pull out your RA notebooks, take a look at them. You've heard us talk about it. You've talked about why we're so, I love that. Thank you, Ethan. Well done. Good modeling. Did you see that, abroad students?
Everyone just said mission statement. Woo!
That's right. Riley, Janet, and Luke. I think those are the only three. If I forgot somebody, I apologize. So in the mission statement, you've heard us talk about it multiple times. You've also heard probably themes and things that we've been discussing or talking about as a department. So I'm just kind of curious from your perspective. Two questions are, what are themes that are sticking out to you so far about who we are as a department? Or you can answer, when I look at the mission statement, I'm really excited about this. Like, I'm excited to bring my strengths, my gifts to this as part of the mission.
I'm excited to live with my section. I hope that it's just something that we can, do together communally. Hang out on the weekends, hang out with 3A, get to go to the beach and just kind of see like the community grow and relationships develop between the students. That's what I'm really excited for.
I really like the transformative community and like the idea that things like we're always challenging what we need to like grow on and like what we need to work on. And I think that's like a super cool part about like just life and being a Christian, as well as like living communally with people, like making sure that we're adapting and being mindful of everyone, and that requires transformation.
I really like just the phrase Christ-centered apprenticeship. And just like thinking about the ways that hopefully I'll be able to mentor my residents, but also like learn from them in like my walk with Christ.
I suppose I'm excited for all the parts of it.
Ooh, I like that. That's the right answer. Snap that.
Bonus points, everyone.
But specifically, I guess, live, love, and learn, because I heard there was like this youth pastor that came like one time for one of our retreats, and he said like, why would you just exist when you could really live life to the fullest? And that like, it's like, oof, like doing me dirty, youth pastor. But I just think that everything that the mission statement like really encompasses, I think, is a part of living like a good life, not just like a good like virtuous life, but like a life that you'll have fun and like you can sit back and look at all of the memories you've made and just like, wow, like I got to do that with my section, or like I've met really cool people in my section and we had diverse conversations, or like we were able to grow in Christ together. So yeah.
I think I really like when it says like where students can grow in their capacity to live, learn, love, like the grow in their capacity part. Because I just think like the more people you meet and the more people you talk to and the more like stories you hear, the bigger your heart gets and the wider your eyes get, and you just see things in different ways, in a way that like God centers, or like
opens your vision to see those things. So I'm just like really excited to just like meet all of my students, or like not students, oh my gosh, I'm not a teacher yet, like all of my like sections, and just like learn their stories and like grow in the capacity, like that, like right now, like I might be here, but like by the end of our hearts could be this big, and like how cool is that to like have that opportunity. I really like that.
You'll learn a lot about this next year. It's like, why are we doing what we do, right? And your mission statement's really supposed to be answering that question, like, why are we doing this work? So that's my question. When you see the mission statement, why? Like, why are we doing residence life?
I think to help like our residents grow, but like kind of what Rachel was saying, like for us to grow with them. I think that's really important that we see each other grow and like keep each other accountable for that.
To like contribute, you know, being a support system, but not the main event. So like understanding that, you know, there's going to be a part of the section that's just going to take its course, I guess, and it's our chance to like maybe get involved, maybe add a little shape here and there. But also understanding that the students are going to have a big impact on like what you're going to be doing. Kind of giving them the freedom to decide that.
So the live, love, learn, it's an important piece that did come up. So the why, one of the things I think is really important is live is code for leadership. Love is code for service, serving. And then learn is obviously like education. Like, so why do we do our work, right? Well, for me as the director, why I'm doing this work is because I want to lead and influence our community towards Christ-centered apprenticeship. I want to lead our community into a place where there is like value in diversity, and diverse and transformative, right? Like I want to do that. Like that's my why. My why is that I want to love. I wake up and I want to come to work so I can figure out a way that I can really like serve well. And even though I'm so annoyed at having to wash dishes, I'm doing it because I want to serve my community, but I also want to serve physical plant, the custodial staff, and not communicate that that's just their job. My why is I want to serve, and I want to serve my section. And the learn is for me, why is I want to educate, you know, and you guys are educators. It may not feel that way. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call them your students, like, hello students, come, welcome, I have things to teach you. You have an opportunity to teach. I mean, you guys actually shape culture. What you allow to happen in your section, right? Whether that's like racial slurs, if you allow that to happen, you're setting a tone, right, in your section that's okay. You have an opportunity to maybe model and step in and say like, hey, like that's not okay here. It's not welcome in this space because we are a diverse community. And we want every student that is in our hall to have a sense of belonging here, right? Same thing with, I think, even conversations about sexuality. You know, I'm very attuned when I hear the word somebody say, you know, that's so gay. I'm like, turn. Hey, help me understand that a little bit more. Because I'm aware that there may be people in this community that for them that's so painful. And I want them to have a sense of belonging. Like you guys actually educate in the way that you confront and what you promote in your own studies and the way that you model studies. And so when we talk about mission or vision, for us, we don't want you to think like I'm in residence life and Shannon's going to give me a gift certificate if I like tell her the mission statement and I get my French press, you know? That's great. I mean, yeah, you do. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. You know, I know I'm prepared. I'm like, I'm going to buy like 40 gift certificates. Everyone's going to be like, we're ready for the mission statement. But I hope that it's more than that, you know? Like, I hope that it's a space where you really do get to be reminded of like why, like we, me, the RDs, Dan, you guys are doing this work. I know that we're getting close to time. So one of the things that I've been thinking about our time, like future RA spring training is really designed to give you things to think about and to ponder. So when I was thinking about like, what do we need to ponder in this session? Not that you just memorize the mission statement, but I think what is your why? Like, why are you doing this work? You know, like for you, it's like, I want to live life with people, but even to drill, like, it's not just about what you're going to do, like why. And take time this summer to really pray about it, write it out, because it's going to be important. You know, living on a mission statement, there's just times where you're like, I am so done. I am tired. And what has helped me in moments, like especially last year when I was like, oh, I get to evacuate campus like all the time. It's like so great. What is my why? You know, I need to know why am I showing up to work when I'm so tired? You know, and it's no one's fault that I'm tired. It's just the nature of what that last year was. But my why is what really, really helped me get through. And sometimes my why is because of people in my life. You know, my why was my team, my RD team. D Kim over there. Hey, girl. That's to the broad students as well. D is recording this. Respect her, love her, and honor her. Okay. So, but she's like a why for me. You guys are a why for me. And my why sometimes has changed and evolved. So in the summer, I actually will like spend time in prayer, like just saying like, Lord, like, why am I doing this work? And sometimes this work is like comedic, you know, I'm like, I don't know how to explain to my friends, like what I do for a living sometimes, you know, it's just, you know, I'm like, I hang out with college students, I go backpacking with them. And then sometimes I go to the hospital and I'm with a student who attempted suicide. It happened within a day that I have coffee with a student and then I'm at the hospital at the end of the day. I have to know my why. And it helps me, I think, stay committed in this work. So, I'm not sure how much time we have. I'm sure Anna will rotate us out, but when you hear that, what are things that come to mind for you?
We watched this video last semester, just like about know your why. And it was talking about how like your what doesn't matter as long as you know your why. And so that was like, I don't know, that's just what I thought about.
Yeah. Was that Simon Sinek by chance?
I think it was, yeah. He's like a
coach. Yeah, he does a lot of coaching. Yeah. Simon Sinek, you will learn about Simon Sinek as an RA. We're big fans. Yeah.
Big fans.
Yeah. He wrote a book called Why Matters. So if you're doing some light reading this summer, there you go. He also did Why Do Leaders Eat Last? And I love that book. And what he talks about is he was really curious about the military and sort of this like people's like allegiance to like their team and their commander especially. And he found out that when you go in the mess hall, you only have like a certain amount of time to eat. And the recruits would go in and they all eat first. But like the commanders, like the sergeants don't. They wait and then they eat. So they may not even eat anything at all. But it's a part of their strategy of like leaders eat last. And so they make sure that their team who's on the field, who is doing the work, is getting that need first before they do. And it's just it's been a great book for me to think about in my own leadership. Like, what am I doing to promote my team and their accomplishments and their work and you guys, because it's about you. So Simon Sinek, he's a baller. I love him. Yeah, other thoughts?
I want to grow. Yeah, I think, I don't know, when you're in positions of leadership, like the rate that you grow at is like tripled because there's so many more things that you have to balance, and there's so many different ways that you're challenged, but I think at the end there's like a lot of fruit that you reap. So I really want that. Yeah.
I keep thinking about the idea of like sacrificial love. And now I think that's like the big idea I keep thinking of like with next year is like I'm really excited to love like my residents and things like that, and knowing that it's going to be a sacrifice and like making that choice and knowing that it's not always going to be shown in return, but that's not what it's about.
Yeah, the position for sure, you're going to grow. There's no way around it. And it's going to require sacrificial love. So switch. So these are all good thoughts. Blessings to you.
Thank you.
I'll see you
On to our next stop.
The queen!
Hello, we out here in our final session. Stay tuned.
Fun question right off the bat. If you had to describe your RA year in a shoe.
In a shoe.
What shoe would that shoe be?
Oh, yeah.
My white Nikes.
Say what?
My white Nikes.
White Nikes. Why?
I'm not wearing them. Because they were part of many journeys of mine this year.
Here we go.
That's all.
Are they still white at the end of the year?
You know, they took me through Europe and now this year of life, so they're still alive. I can wash them. They're white again. It's great. They're like, they never wear out. I don't know.
So Vibrams, toe shoes. They look like the most exciting shoe in the world, and so everyone got them. And then everyone started having gnarly feet problems, and it's like, oh shoot, you actually you have to know how to run in these if you're going to wear them. And so that was like,
yeah. I got another deepish one. We'll see how deep we go. When you guys go on Imprint, if you don't already have them, you're going to need to get a good pair of hiking boots. I have a couple pairs because I'm an avid backpacker. And the thing about boots is that they're going to suck unless you start breaking them in. In order to break them in, you need to use them consistently, and the more you use them, the better they're going to feel. That's kind of been how res life is, you know? You got to keep on pouring into it, take the time, put experience into it, and then as you slowly break in that shoe, it's going to become more and more comfortable to a point where you're just going to be wearing it every day. So,
What's one significant thing that you have learned through your year this year?
I would say my mini trip. I'm just kidding.
Not that. It's gonna always be consistent. It's always gonna reign true because, like I said in the first group we had, there is no community like the res life community. And the res life community don't stop. So I had to do it. It was given. But yeah, this community is like no other community that I've been a part of at Westmont, and I'm just like really excited to take this community with me and roll with them for another year. And I'm just excited for you guys to join us and see what it's like. Especially because we're talking to upper campus. Something I seriously learned this year is like I have a voice and people actually listen to it, and I actually learned that by the end of Imprint, which is really funny, and I've really stood true to it throughout this year. Like my women seriously, like they wanted to learn and like they wanted to know like my thoughts on things, and like they wanted to hear what I had to say. So once I started talking, it was like, whoa, like they actually like are listening to me. Like they also like, and that just like also creates like such a great relationship. I've been able to also like in my position use my voice to like help get things done on campus, or just like really encourage other people like on my staff or in res life or in my section to like also care to pursue in different conversations and stuff like that. And like I realized that because of my position too, like there's so many like authoritative figures at Westmont that like I have like an ability to converse with to also help get things done on campus, and not just through me, but seeing like other staff members also use their voice like that. It's just been really cool. So yeah, you're gonna get this like, you're gonna see that like people are listening to you and care about what you have to say. Use your voice.
How did you guys recharge? Like, just kind of, how did you like slow down when you felt burnt out? And maybe even like if you have time, like what caused you to burn out?
I guess like stepping back and kind of like reevaluating like what's most important and prioritize things. Like I talked to the last group about working like another job, being an RA and being a student, and kind of also like dating someone. Like that's a lot of time being spread out, like and so like I really need to take a step back and be like, actually like as much as I want to like work like 3 more hours today, like I can't, because I really need to go eat dinner, or like I need to do homework. And yeah, like I felt really burnt out with time because I felt like time was like running out all the time. And also like I got a bullet journal, so that was really helpful because I got to map out everything that I like needed to do. But in terms of like recharging, I think like if needing something to be organized is your thing, then like you can recharge through that way, or honestly just like taking a step back. People talk about taking weekends away. You can totally like step out and like go to the beach by yourself, or yeah, do something peaceful.
So my biggest feeling of burnout comes from this idea that I'm always on. When I'm on campus, I'm always an RA. I'm always, kind of responsible for this section. And if you're stuck in that mindset, it will just drain you. It makes, going to the DC to get lunch like a chore, because like I know I'm going to see people in there, and I got to connect with them. So I mean, my biggest thing was taking weekends away, turning my phone off, saying, this weekend I'm just gonna I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna take a nap on the beach, and I'm gonna turn myself off for like a weekend, and then just from then, remind yourself, okay, this is the job I chose to do, and I actually do really love this. I love connecting with my guys. I love connecting with my team, and so that's what I'm gonna lean into when I come back to.
I think the first is, you're always going to be experiencing burnout in some capacity as an RA. What that ends up looking like is going to be different based on who you are and the section that you have. For me, it wasn't necessarily being always on, but it was kind of the constant barrage of, or rather a lack of barrage, where you have a community that isn't pouring back into you. And for me, the burnout was, I don't know if I can keep doing this, or I'm not being reciprocated. And as far as actually approaching burnout and recharging, it's actually kind of a learned skill. It takes a while to actually figure out what that looks like. I found that for me personally, it's not just about taking time to rest. It's actually intentional time, because it's easy just to turn off and go to your room, take a nap, or just veg out. But I think what's really recharging, at least for me, that I've discovered over this past year, is not just doing that, but finding rest in activity, in intentional time that I've created for myself. Doing new things, actually exerting myself in a different direction. So whether that's going on, having a hike, or going to the beach, or finding some new and creative thing to do, I think it's stimulating your brain in a different way, and that's actually allowing you to recharge and be able to pour back into community. So that'd be my response to you.
What do you guys think you're gonna change from this year to next year? If you have any ideas yet?
Probably haircut. If I were to try to link that into actually a worthwhile message. At least for me, one of the things that I'm doing as an RA is I'm moving from an upper class dorm to a lower class dorm. So there's a big change as far as my experience and what I've learned in applying that to a new demographic. And a lot of that is going to require me to kind of rewrite my brain, and figure out what I need to do to now perform in a different experience. And I think that I would encourage that for you guys as well. There's a lot of training that comes into res life and actually approaching, first of all, leading a section of girls or guys, and kind of rerouting yourself to understand what that means. And so in the idiom of getting a haircut, I would say don't be afraid to try something new, to experiment. Because for me, it took me an entire semester just to figure out what actually works for my guys. And there can be a lot of times where you're afraid to just reach out and just kind of stay consistent. But it's also important to be reaching out and being intentional and trying new things and figuring out what works.
Qualify that just a tiny bit. Don't be inauthentic though. Don't be someone who's not yourself. I know there's sort of an RA type, and they're the extroverted, outgoing, always have energy person. That's not true. There's RA type is whoever you are, and you have so many good strengths because of your number on the Enneagram or your or your personality type. Those are providing your own unique strength, and definitely pull into those. Try new things, try unique things, but don't be someone you're not.
100%. Don't try to put on. I'm not telling you to put on a hat. Just your tenor is totally right. Be yourself. You're going to lead in a very specific way because you're going to be leading from your experience and your strengths. So definitely keep that in mind. Don't. Yeah, for sure.
I just want to touch on that. Something I also learned a lot is that I came in with like there's one like type of person that is a leader, and after Imprint, like I was destroyed because I was like, wow, like there are so many beautiful ways to be such a sufficient leader and like an awesome leader, and it made me reevaluate like all my thoughts on like what being a leader looked like, especially like an RA. So yeah, so it's just that's something really beautiful that I learned through being an RA with very different people.
Piggyback off of that, I remember something that I had a one-on-one with my RD Liz, great woman, and she told me something because I was having a bit of a, like, whether or not I did the right thing in becoming an RA and whether I was meant for this job and if I could actually complete it or do it. And I was telling her, I was like, Liz, I feel like I'm just not the right person for this job. I like made a mistake. I don't think I'm meant to be in this position. It's like I just feel like I don't fit the mold, and I'm just like so totally different from what is like the ideal RA. And Liz basically told me, she's like, don't say that, because by you saying that you shouldn't be RA, you're disrespecting all the people who vouched for you and saw potential in you, and just knew that someone like you had to be an RA, and someone like you would reach students in a way that other people couldn't. And it hit me real hard, and I sat there and I was like, wow. So by you don't try and act like somebody that you're not, because by you doing that, you're just going against everything. You're going against the person that people saw in you and the potential people saw in you, and you're trying to mask that when maybe the main reason why you were chosen is because you're not like everybody else. You're not like everybody else at Westmont, and that's why you're an RA, because you are meant to reach a specific population at Westmont that feels like they haven't been reached because you're that person. So.
Did you guys all have a crisis of like, I'm not like why am I not RA? Like why did they pick me? I don't know. I feel like a lot of RAs I know have that moment. So like in those moments, like don't be afraid. Like, but also find the people. Like if you need affirmation, like seek it out. But also remember what Alicia just said.
Yeah, on that, because I definitely have experienced that. Don't be afraid to reach out to your RDs, or maybe not directly your RD or your guys' section, but somebody else. I had a really good conversation with actually earlier in the year, just because I was curious about what my role was, and I wanted to understand how I could be my best self and what that actually meant. It's important to seek out those conversations if that's something you have, because your RDs are as much a resource as your staff. And you're definitely here for a reason. You got picked, so keep that.
That wraps up, but I want to invite more questions at a later time. It's going to be the start of something beautiful, people.
Okay, what are your thoughts on this first Foundations of Res Life?
I thought that last meeting was like really insightful, because I feel like everyone's kind of like a little nervous and doesn't really know what to expect, but hearing it from the veterans just makes you feel better. Yeah.
Did you feel good, guys?
Yeah. Grab the coffee and the knee-high socks. It's time to get to work.
It's crazy.
How are you guys feeling?
Great. Rested.
Wow.
We're going to talk a little bit about it, because Imprint, while a very cool part of the RA experience, is challenging, really, probably for everyone, and can also be pretty anxiety-provoking for some people, because it can be new, it can be different, it can feel dangerous, it can feel very much outside of your comfort zone. So we want to take a little bit of time to prep you for what this is, and then hopefully the goal of this time is to give you a little bit of context for what Imprint is, and then also hopefully, if it is something that you're feeling anxious about, hopefully you'll have some a little bit more solid things to just kind of rest a little bit easier about. So, why Imprint? Why do we do this? There are a lot of reasons, and part of it is we'll get into the goals of like what we're trying to accomplish, but at its like the biggest level, Imprint is a chance for us to, when we first come back together to start this amazing race of a year, the kind of energy that's going to go into this RA experience, to be together with a team of people and to enjoy some of the pause that comes without having anything else to do besides be present in that moment. So that's kind of the big picture. There's all sorts of things that are part of it: leadership, self-confidence, community-mindedness. These things will come out through various aspects of the program. So we don't necessarily need to get into the specifics. But it's challenge by choice. It's something that we invite you to choose this challenge, to step up into it, to choose to engage, and to do so at a level that feels good to you. There's some of the language we use is that we talk about our comfort zone, like what is it like daily life, what our normal comfort zone, and sometimes that it's where learning happens is when you step into that stretch zone. So it's outside your comfort zone, but it's not necessarily in a panic zone. So panic zone is when learning stops and you go into survival mindedness, where you are you start being able to consider some of the bigger picture, be able to consider multiple perspectives. So we don't want to push you to panic zone, but we do want you to be in stretch zone as part of Imprint. And so part of that is going to be the communication with your team. So the wilderness is, I think, is an important kind of laboratory for us because it forces us to be present there without anything besides what we have with us. A lot of the distractions are gone, and it allows us to be more present to each other and to ourselves. So, goals of Imprint.
All right. Well, there's the obvious goals that are listed here. Get my own sweet pink hat, rock a sweet whistle all the time, because you will, and then be the one to complete the circle, because otherwise it's like, oh, there's the gap, and nobody's holding a hand, and that's really sad. Okay, so goals for this program are going to be spiritual formation, which we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about today, but just iconic with the Bible, the journal, and no phone. Get pumped for it. Also, leadership development. So you'll have an opportunity to be stretched and to try new things and to lead your peers, and it may feel uncomfortable, but it's going to help develop you as a leader. And then we also have a goal of challenging you physically. So recognizing that part of being an RA is physically demanding. You will get really, really tired, and this is an example of, hey, we're going to challenge ourselves physically, but we're also going to model what it means to have rest. And yes, key elements, please just embrace all that humor right there. Okay. So you're going to get to learn all sorts of wilderness skills. You're going to get to look at some of the equipment in a little bit here. You also will have the opportunity to go on an overnight solo. You, Jesus, and your journal. It's going to be great. So just to mentally prepare, that's going to be one element of the program for you. You'll also get the opportunity, like Trey Rutherford in this picture, to be the leader of the day, where you get to be making some decisions about what time your group gets up, when you eat your meals, where you're hiking, all of that, to give you the opportunity. And then everybody gets to go on Imprint. Are you talking more about this specifically? Okay. So there may be times where somebody is not able to join the Imprint experience that we have up in Sequoia. They're going to have their own Imprint experience back in the Santa Barbara area, but their beautiful face will go along on Imprint with each team, so that you get to be reminded that you're a part of the group. We'll be thinking about you, praying about you. So even if there's a reason you're not able to go on the actual hiking part, you will still be incorporated into the group and be on a team. Your feet. Yep. All right. Take care of your feet. You'll be talking about that extensively in a few minutes. But just trust me, your feet are sacred.
We have a video that we're going to show just to give you a little bit more, a little better picture of kind of the area and what to expect. So the amazing D. Kim put this together. So
D. Kim. Thank you.
I still remember you were so lovely that I felt ashamed.
No, cause B.O., you know. Is the rain stopping you, Abby? No. What about you, Joy? No. Thunder.
I'm gonna give this to Liz right now. She's gonna pass it out. If you are male, please don't grab one. It's only for the females. The reason for that is females get to deal with different things out in the woods that you males don't because of our different parts that we have. So, all that to say, on this sheet are some handy little things in terms of helpful clothing to have, talking about your period, sanitation, as well as kind of like hair essentials in terms of like how do you best take care of yourself while you're out there in the woods. So this is normal. If you have any questions, you can talk to any of the RDs about this, but these tips are, I backpacked for like 5 years now, next year 6, and so I found these tips to be really, really helpful. And something I didn't put on here is that little like containers of baby powder really help soak up the oil if you really are concerned about your hair getting super gross. But yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask any of the RDs and we would love to answer them. Males, if you have questions too, feel free to ask.
We are going to do a similar thing that we just did with the rotating stations to talk about some things specific to Imprint. So this time it's only 3 groups though, so mixing it up a little bit. There is a list in your binder that will tell you some of the things to pack, suggestions for what to wear. And then once we all get back together, our first day will be working on some of the packing with our guides to make sure that you're prepared. So for example, this is how we do sleeping out in the wilderness. So you get a tarp and a ground pad and a sleeping bag. So we don't do tents. Also where we are, we don't do fires or anything like that because of the fire danger there. So we have our kitchen set up over here. You can see the stove that we use. We heat up water. There's some of our freeze-dried food that we bring with us that we rehydrate with the water. And then I just grabbed some clothing items just to give you an idea. Some rainwear. Long underwear is helpful. Layers. Being out, not having to carry too much in terms of clothing, but having enough to be comfortable is all about the layers. And one thing just to be said, we don't expect you to have to go, like we don't want you going and like buying like a whole like, you know, like Imprint wardrobe. Like, you know, that's not the point. Like we don't want you to have to spend a lot of money to do this. Chances are you probably already have stuff that would work just fine. Most like athletic wear is not made of cotton. Try to avoid things made of cotton because it retains water and it doesn't insulate very well when it gets wet. What?
Cotton kills.
Cotton kills. So most like synthetic clothing is great. So you can buy things, you know, that are like great like layers that are gonna be helpful. But again, you probably have things like that. Just check the tags and see. So you know, so I'm modeling my Imprint gear here. So I have the hiking pants with the boots. People go on Imprint with just like regular like sneakers. That can work. I would say that if there's one thing that I would recommend getting putting a little bit of money into is some kind of like hiking sock and sock liner, because getting blisters is really a pain. That would be really beneficial. Having boots is helpful because a lot of the trails are pretty rocky. Gives you a bit more stability. So over here are 2 packs that are relatively about the weight of what your pack would be on the trail, so you can get a sense of how heavy it would be. But just kind of walk around and see the gear, and then oh yeah. And one of the pieces of gear that would also be good to buy is a headlamp. I think this costs like $6 at Target, so you don't have to go fancy, but it is helpful to have. Anything else you'd add, Anna?
I don't think so. You mentioned the med kit that we bring.
Yep. So just to, again, like we will have somebody who is certified as a wilderness medic on the trip with us, so they're not like part of Res Life staff, but we actually have a medic and a guide that go on the trip alongside us. So it's somebody who's like EMT trained or like wilderness first responder trained, and so we do have a full med kit and contingency plans for emergencies and things like that. The trip is it is 5 days. Yeah. You should know that.
Yeah, you should know that. So if you guys want to test out the weight of the backpacks, I think it will just help you think about it over the summer, how heavy these are going to be.
Like actually put it up on your back so you can get a sense of what it's like to wear.
Just don't swing it, you might throw out your
Try laying down on the sleeping area, see what that's like. Come over and check out the kitchen.
Oh, that's not that. Oh, yeah.
You have any words of advice, James?
Oh, yeah.
Get a beanie. Try and like sneak some toilet paper with you if you can.
What? No, baby wipes. Don't listen to him.
Trying to get in Stu's group.
Stop it.
Don't wear cotton underwear.
Oh, yeah.
Bad idea. So you'll just be wet. And smelly. And it's very smelly. Yeah. Yeah. Jump in the lake if you get a chance.
What's up?
That's good. How are you feeling, Ethan?
Hello. I'm feeling pretty good. You know, when in doubt, risk it for the biscuit.
I love Imprint. It's like one of my favorite parts of the RA spiel. I mean, if I could just do Imprint and call it quits there, I'd totally do that.
We provide that. We provide the backpacks, all the kitchen stuff, the Nalgene's, all that stuff is provided. So, so you're only really responsible for the things that you're going to be wearing. You find things in nature. We're not spending a lot of time talking about the bathroom piece because I know that is an anxiety producing piece. But some of that you'll just kind of discover when we go up there that it's not, it's probably not going to be your first choice. Like you're probably not going to be going and finding leaves, to use once you are back on campus. But it's not as bad as it sounds here when you're up there. Come on in, everybody. Welcome to your team building exercise. Like everything in education, I would say, and residence life, and you guys have probably been part of a team building exercise before, it requires you to opt in or opt out. So I'm just going to ask you, are you guys up for doing team building exercise with me today? Yeah. Do I have an okay for you?
100%.
For these couple minutes?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll describe what we're going to do, and we'll, of course, talk about it later. I'm going to ask for a volunteer who is going to stand in the middle of our circle, and they're going to cross their arms over their chest, and then each one of us is going to put a hand on them comfortably around their torso area, and then we're going to lean in and push, and then we're going to see what happens after that. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer to opt into this circle?
I can do that.
All right, come on in. So go ahead and cross in, and everyone can come and put one hand, push, and we're going to start to push opposite. So we're going to push towards the person who's opposite us. And then
Wait, hold on, you did say?
I just said push. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go ahead and push, and then push up.
Oh, bye guys. Into the sky.
Let's
Am I supposed
recalibrate.
to try to stand up?
Call off the push. All right, hands on. Make sure you're pushing to the opposite side, and then you're going to push slightly upwards. Ready?
To the skies. Come on, team. Yes.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I want everyone to step back, and then go to the opposite side. Hands on. Maybe a little bit lower.
Oh, sorry guys.
1, 2, 3.
To the skies.
All right,
Spaceman.
Wow. One hand is lift. You guys didn't even know that you could lift your hand with one hand. Who else would like to opt into the set? All right.
Woo! Emerson.
Emerson.
What? It's team bonding. Whatever.
And then this time around, I'm gonna let you call it. So you
Oh. Okay.
Get ready to leave.
Wait, so I think it was like you push in the opposite direction of you and then slowly lift me up because I'm scared. Yeah. Okay, you can let me down now.
Who's so like who else would want to give it a go?
Do you want to go?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you recording me?
Take
Yeah,
your
you have to hold. Oh, yeah.
Well, just
Hold on.
They need to see you. Hey, if you knew, this has been the person behind the camera the entire time.
What do I do?
Just cross your arms.
We're gonna send her flying.
It's team building. You tell us when.
Okay.
And
To the skies.
he's levitating. Well done, Dee.
Okay, does anyone else want to give it a go?
Hey, no, I don't.
In a lot of things in life, particularly in residence life, as an RA, you're going to hit things that are going to be in each one of those zones. And the interesting thing is when you stay in your comfort zone, there's generally no movement. You're not going to do anything. That's the same truth about your red zone, your redlining zone, because you're just going to get shut down. You're not open to kind of learning. So that ideal zone is kind of right in that middle, and only you can opt in. So that's why it's totally okay. Another phrase that we use is challenge by choice, right? So this year you're going to be invited. Sometimes you're going to be pushed, maybe into a place where you think that you're in that red zone. If you're reaching that red zone, we welcome you to be vocal about that towards your supporting staff. But you're going to get the opportunity to opt in and challenge by choice quite a bit. This exercise, why do you think we chose this? What does this have to say about leadership, team, anything?
Because we're like physically representing and lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Edifying building each other up.
Cool.
Emerson.
What are some other thoughts?
For the people who volunteered, they're choosing to opt into that challenge zone. They didn't really know what they were getting into exactly, and especially the people after. It might have been more, I don't know, maybe more uncomfortable for the ladies that went in. But even after they saw what the challenge looked like, they chose to opt in. So like maybe for us who have friends who are RAs, like we've seen the challenges that they've gone through and we're still choosing to opt in. So maybe that too.
It was very easy to pick up one person if all of us were doing it together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How might that impact your years of RA?
I think that building community and being in a community that can lift each other up, so not just like having a preference for one person to go to in the group, but having an equal amount. I mean, obviously there might be some like sort of leaning towards more, but I think just building relationships with the different people around in the group is going to contribute to an overall, I think, help, because I think everyone has something important to give and offer, and we might get that from the different interactions with the different RAs and our staff.
I thought it was interesting that at first Noah was in. We're all working independently. And that's why he couldn't soar. Be free, Jeannie. But it was interesting to see with every person it took a little bit, it got more faster to send them up a little bit. So
we even had to change positions.
Yeah.
It didn't work where we were standing.
Yeah. Which I think is a great metaphor for leadership sometimes. It's like you're trying the same thing, okay, this isn't working. The courage to be able to just say, hey, like, let's just try it this direction or try it this way. Yeah.
There's plenty more to mine for this, but I'm going to send you on your way. Thank you for opting in.
What was that experience like for you?
I really felt raised up. I felt ascending. I felt supported by my team.
Oh, wow. And Emerson.
Well, I mean, we're a collective team.
Emerson.
We're a collective team.
And this is Rachel Pokipala, also known as Pokey. She's a professional trainer, and she's going to be teaching you some different things you can do this summer to practice and prepare for Imprint. You may feel like you are fitter than a Greek god at sea level, but it's a different world once you get up at elevation. So today is to help you learn a few things that you can practice at home.
All right,
Over
so,
to you, Pokey.
So I think my first recommendation would be to do some type of cardio before, even if that's just walking, biking, a light, brisk jog. I would recommend it to get your heart rate up so you're not dying at elevation. Also a lot of water. So the first exercise I recommend is bridges. So let's do, or monster walks. So we can do monster walks first. So put these above your knees and find a partner that has a band. If you don't have a band, there you go. There you go. You guys go with a partner that has a band.
Okay.
All right.
Squat on down, and then just do some, keep your butt like you're sitting in a chair, and then step in, put the band your butt down more and keep it down. Yeah.
There you go. That was squat down, and then you can do 3 to the side, 3 to the other side. Perfect. Do you feel it in your glutes a little bit? You can stay low, so you don't have to dip. Just stay low. Okay. Yeah.
And then wait, what is my partner?
You guys can just switch whenever.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
This makes more sense.
Bilateral isosceles.
Nice.
Yes, yeah.
Let's go back all the way to the concrete. You're almost there. You're doing great. I do it all. Focus. Remember the mission statement. Keep going. Remember the mission. Touch the concrete. Touch. Oh, brilliant. Go. You're gonna go on your back with the band on.
Oh.
I have an imaginary band.
Oh. What's the band?
And you're gonna do single leg, and you're gonna just extend up. And squeeze at the top, hold, and then back down. Above your knees.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're gonna squeeze it up and
Oh,
sorry. I know. You can only do 3.
Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Am I doing it?
Yep.
Yes.
Stand up.
Oh, gosh.
Good.
I do need to work on this a
There
little.
you go. Got him. So extend that leg and squeeze
Yes.
the glute. So good?
Yes, Lena. Yes, Jen.
I think so.
Yeah. I know you feel it.
Welcome to Court demonstrating the bridge pose. Today we're isolating the foggy lateral as in relation to the bilateral isosceles. When they work in cohesion together, it really produces a strong result. There you go. As you can see, he's flexing his anfilopian meniscus with a thrust of the porter hall hips.
What's my Maximilian Johann Sebastian?
Use it, you lose it. And then push up. Nice, perfect. You squeeze your core. Squeeze it as hard as you can. Yeah. See.
Woo!
Nice.
We call these Supermans. So you're gonna be on your belly. I don't know if you want to be on the grass or on the cement. But these ones are good for your butt, your back, and yeah. So you keep your chin tucked and you're just lifting and squeezing. Lifting and squeezing without a band. Okay, then without a band. So yeah, if you want to try a couple of those, maybe not like that one.
Show us that again. Needs some work.
Is it my posture or? This is how you get good cake, everyone.
Oh wow.
Sometimes I work out and I just do it all wrong.
Wow, improvement.
Improvement.
What is your name?
I wanted to cry.
Look down. Keep your arms straight.
I feel like this hurts my back more than anything else. I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
So don't lunge like this, but lunge back and really pull your glutes and your hamstrings. Yeah. Opposite arm.
And then you lunge out forward.
You see it. Beautiful. You see it.
Yes.
Let me train you.
Get it up.
Yeah, you need to punch into it. Yes. You gotta want it.
Yes.
If you do enough, your quads will burn and you will get bigger quads. Yeah, those are some couple exercises I recommend. Lots of water. Do some cardio, please. Walk, jog, whatever you can do before
Great job. You can head back down to the patio there.
They feel really great.
Yeah?
You know? Really great.
I feel pretty good. Yeah. Do you think you'll be sore tomorrow?
It's a possibility. Yeah. For
Okay.
Sure. But I'm ready for Imprint now. So.
How about you?
This has completely prepared us. I am ready for the work.
You feel sore?
Yeah. My glutes are burning.
I think I should
But I'm ready.
right now. A six pack as we speak.
I feel similar to Dwayne The Rock Johnson after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. You feel good?
Cultivating mass.
I feel good. I don't think I did enough to feel a burn, but we're getting.
You will. You'll feel sore tomorrow.
We're getting.
Games